Okay.
So when I was younger, my dad owned a roofing company, and when he came home from work, we would always see him walk in and hang up his hat, and then we could jump on him and hug him, and then we could finally hang out because his workday was over. And these childhood memories that I have are reasons why I agree with Lord John Wharfin's statement, home is where you hang your hat. Because when my dad had his hat on, he was going to work, or he was the boss on the roof and he was busy. But once he took his hat off, we could play with him and mess with him, and he was our jungle gym. And I feel that in my own life, because when I go out and when I go to school, I try to dress appropriate for the occasion, but when I'm home, in the private of my home, I'm very comfortable. You know, I take off my boots or I take off certain jewelry, and it's because home is where we're comfortable, and that's kind of our sanctuary, and we're private. It's our private homes, and that's where we can really be ourselves. And I think Wharfin was almost, or could compare a hat to like masks or identities and personalities that we not wear but put on or portray outside of our house, in our homes, because at least for me, I'm not the same person at school or at work as I am at my house. I'm very comfortable and casual, where at work and school it's professional and it's a different attitude and it's a different look, and I take those looks off when I'm at home and I'm with my family and my friends. And so I can relate this topic to things in my life. Like when I go to work, similar to my dad, I wear a certain uniform, and when I come home, I take it off. And I put something else on, more comfortable, because I'm done with that and I'm home. But different occasions outside of the house have different hats or different uniforms and appropriate clothing and things like that, where home is just home. It's a different assortment of the comfort that we have in our sanctuary. And for those reasons, I agree with John Morgan.
All right, Amber, I like the personal story as an attention device. I thought that worked really well. And then the transition to the quote was great. Your interpretation of the quote I thought was very reasonable, but it took you, I mean, you kind of repeated the interpretation of the quote a couple of times. And some of it I think you were working out in your head as you're talking to us, and some of it I think you had a good idea on, and then you don't really go very far with it. It basically comes back to, let me give you another definition or another example of that. I think you need to have a little bit more of a plan for the structure. There's no preview that you lay out, so that's one of the things that I think sets a bad precedent for you, is without necessarily having a specific set of objectives or goals that you're going to talk about, that you're going to just kind of come back to the same experience over and over again. So the content doesn't get as well developed as it could. But I thought you had a great interpretation of it. In a couple of spots, you summarized it very effectively, and I think there's a lot that you can do with it. It just, never gets out of first gear. But it's a good gear that you're in while you're there. The presentation issues, it was satisfactory. We could hear you. Maybe you could use a little bit more variety in your tone, but it flowed very smoothly. That was nice. There were some gestures, a couple a little bit repetitive. I did notice the air quotes at one point. That was kind of cute. Your facial expressions, there's some indicators there I won't say it was hugely vivid, but it was especially good when you were doing the introduction. Your eye contact with the audience is solid, at least with this part of the audience. I looked up, you were usually looking out here. I didn't notice, I should have been paying more attention, I guess, to see if it was well distributed. I assume it was, but you'll be able to tell when you're watching your video and see whether or not you were paying attention to everybody. It's a little brief. It was just 2 minutes. At the end, I thought you came back to the idea, explained it a little bit differently, and summarized it pretty well, and that was effective. All right, thank you.